Good day. My name's Graham, and I was born in England many years ago. I used to be proud of being British, and I'm proud myself of being British, what it was. I am no longer proud of Britain. I'm ashamed of my own country. I'm ashamed of the BBC. The BBC, and I'm going to prove in this little exercise, little essay if you like, talk, that the BBC are the biggest bunch of hypocrites on the planet right now, along with the ABC in Australia, and I'll tell you why. It's about this word called equality. They go on about equality, treat everyone equally all the time, and they rave on about it, and they ram it down people's throat, and you have a different opinion to someone who's black or something, you're being racist for having a different opinion to someone who's being black. Never mind that it's racist to say you can't have a different opinion because it might offend a black person because they're saying the black people haven't got the intelligence to think and answer the questions for themselves. That is racism. The BBC are racist, don't you worry about that. They like to pretend they're not, promoting all these nefarious ideas that they are the perfect people, the elite of the elite in their altruistic nature. They're so generous in themselves, but it's all a lie, and I'll prove it's a lie. A disgusting, shameful lie, and it's about the equality. Like they try to relate the equality that Marx tried to portray in today's world, and it's got no relationship with Marx and what's going on today whatsoever, because Marx talked about the distribution of wealth and how it should be distributed between the people, but it's down to Adam Smith, who said you've got to have some moral principles about how you look after the poor, which we ought to look into, and what does it mean today. And the equality bit here in Australia and in England, I can't speak for anyone else, is that old people and poor people are made to freeze in winter in England. Well, if the BBC and all these leftists, pseudo-left, with actually they're far right, pretending to be pseudo-left, it's the biggest con in history that I know of. And we can relate exactly why it's the far right, but I will not go into that right now. The people sponsoring this, does anyone think that the enclave in Europe, the princes of Europe, in the EU are behind this, are the gentle, nice, generous far left, want to distribute wealth? What sacrifices have any of them made towards anything in their own life? But they're willing to sacrifice millions of other people for their cause, which is to destroy Europe and Britain from being Western democracies into something else altogether that is no longer Western democracy. It certainly is not Christian. I mean, it has no moral principles. When you say you like equality, and you're all about equality, ram it down our throat, and you say, well, how come old people and poor people are freezing in winter? How come they can hardly afford to keep warm anymore? How can you have to do with food to keep warm? If you keep warm, you can't eat food. Surely equality would mean that everyone, no matter what income you have, gets a fair share, an equal enough amount of energy to their houses to stay warm in winter. So, and otherwise it's not equal. It's not an equality. The equalitative system is unfair, unjust, unreasonable. It's a lie. It's a con. It's a rot, and it's disgusting. The BBC, who raved on about equality, and all these leftists, students raving on about equality, wanting everything for nothing. Don't put any effort in, they want everything for nothing. They think or distribution of wealth means you get everything for nothing. And people who worked hard all their life end up on a pension. You can't always end up rich when you worked hard all your life. That's a very, very difficult thing to do. When you end up just with a pension, paying the exorbitant rents that people pay these days, because of escalated, inflated the price of housing for everyone, which is about the worst case thing you could ever do to any civilized population in a democracy. That's worse. They want to destroy democracy, raise the prices of houses, make housing a competition to buy houses. That's not capitalism. That destroys the very essence of capitalism, which is keeping the people so they can willingly go about their lives trying to gain something for themselves. But an awful lot of people can't no longer do that. It's a struggle just to get by each week because of the cost of electricity. Now, if it doesn't, it's in wind. If we go into wind and solar, wind in particular, it uses not one more ounce of wind for people to put their heaters on, or in winter, than anyone else. It's not like in putting more coal on the fire or burning more uranium. It's nothing. So this idea that it's equality when they've got old people freezing in winter in England, that's not equality. That's a eugenics program. That's a cruel, nasty, evil system that says, and you can get a quote from this, the fiat system, which is the world sort of run on, it says, well, the cards will fall as they may. In other words, there's no conscience or soul or spirituality between this and that's connected with humans. What did the Buddha say? The Buddha said, I notice desire causes all suffering. He should have qualified that by saying, I notice the desire of the very, very wealthy causes suffering to the very poor, which is basically sums up how the world is. No matter where you go in the world, there are some exceptions, some brilliant exceptions. But no matter where you go in the world, the very powerful and rich sacrifice nothing on behalf of the poor, and their desires get bigger and bigger and bigger as they need to boast more and more to themselves wherever they go to do the boasting, and that desire causes a greater and greater poverty amongst the rest of the population. Like they become separate. In other words, they become spiritually separated from the rest of the human race, and they actually become a different breed of humans, like a different breed, if you like, almost a different species of culture, to put it in an evolutionary sense. A different species of culture. There's an organics in culture. Each culture is a species of culture, if you like. And what they've created amongst themselves is a feeling of separation between them and the rest of society. That's why they can cause all people to freeze in winter. Now, the idea I have comes from Paul Keating, who said sliding scale system, and that's where we need to go now, is that people on the lower echelons, economic echelons in society, should be charged according to their income and get the same amount of power as the rich. Access to a sort of a limit, of course. It's got to be limited. You can't have an abuse of the system, but there should be at least, they should know how many kilojoules of energy is required to warm up so many cubic feet of space, and that should be able to, anyone should be able to calibrate that, and that's how people should be allotted that amount so they can keep warm. They go in their houses in winter and go in there nice and warm and sit there without old scarves on, freezing death behind a 2-bar heater. Well, before you used to chuck coal on the fire and all get nice and warm. Get rid of coal, right? Oh, we'll all get rid of coal, and we'll all get rid of coal. Now you're sitting in front of a 2-bar heater and freeze to death instead. Even if you chucked a couple of buckets of coal, yes, it's smogged up the air, but people get warm. So they're killing people off. The coal was killing people off because it causes smog. Now they're killing people off by not having coal and having 2-bar heaters. So it's still the same thing in the end. You're killing people off, and that's what it's about. Destroying people's lives, and it's cruel and nasty, and it's nothing to do with equality at all. That's the greatest lie ever told by anyone. As far as I'm concerned, the BBC stinks. It's racist, and it's telling lies about Macron, trying to pretend that Putin's a threat to Europe. No, the EU's a threat to Europe. The left are a threat to Europe. The left are this BBC's a direct threat to Britain, a direct threat to thousands and thousands of people in Britain by not actually understanding what they purposely misleading on the word equality in the real true sense of the meaning. People don't all, the rich can have the rich cars and the big houses and all that sort of stuff. Go ahead and be rich. I'm not against people being rich, but I'm against liars using word equality and the idea of Marxism, when it's far from that. There's no equal distribution of wealth here. Wealth is getting sucked up and the poor people are suffering. That's not Marxism. That's draconian. That's 13th century, aware of its dark ages. Corporate structures with no soul. It's like Christianity's dead or something in England. I am English. I'm proud of what I am, but right now I'm ashamed of Britain. I'm ashamed, especially what the BBC. I used to worship the BBC. Now I'm totally ashamed of it, and the BBC picked this up. Debate me on the word equality, any of you. I dare you. You will lose. That's not a brag. I'm just stating a fact. You will lose.